Protagonists of the story, 2. Moliere. The complete story, Part 1. Who is Moliere? Jean-Baptiste Poquelin, better known by his stage name Moliere, was one of the most prominent playwrights in French literature. Known for his comedic plays, his life was filled with ups and downs and controversies that shaped his career. A great character of universal culture. After that brief introduction, let's get started. Jean-Baptiste Poquelin, known as Moliere, was born in Paris on January 15, 1622 and died on February 17, 1673, in the same city. This outstanding French playwright, actor, and poet is widely recognized as one of the greatest writers in the French language and a key figure in world literature. His legacy includes an impressive variety of theatrical genres, including comedies, farces, tragicomedies, and comedy ballets, among others. His works have been translated into numerous languages, and he is considered the father of the Comédie Française, his influence being so relevant in the French Great Century that his works are performed more frequently than those of any other contemporary playwright. Molière was a master of classicism, leaving an indelible mark on 17th-century France, and his legacy lives on in the eternity of theater and literature. Molière, relentless in the face of false scholars and ignorant doctors, elevates youth by extolling its liberation from absurd restrictions. His moralistic perspective, far from devotion and asceticism, focuses on rectifying and softening human passions, instead of completely eliminating them. His main goal as a playwright was to make honest people laugh, and in this pursuit, he adopted the motto castigat ridendo mores, correct customs by laughing, which reflected his approach to comedy to point out and correct the mores of society. Molière, through his sharp satire and humor, left a lasting legacy on the theater, earning himself a prominent place as one of the greatest writers of all time. Molière's life was documented from his earliest years, with Voltaire even writing an early biography of him, accompanied by commentary on each of his works. Molière was the son of Jean Poquelin, royal upholsterer, and Marie Cresse. Although it cannot be confirmed with certainty, it is believed that his uncles may have influenced his interest in the theater, as they frequently took him to see theatrical performances. At the age of 10, in 1632, Molière suffered the loss of his mother. Although she did not have a close relationship with her father, she lived with him in a wealthy neighborhood of Paris, specifically on a top floor of the Pavillon de Singes, on Rue Saint-Honoré. His father married again, but was widowed a second time in 1636. From the age of 11, in 1633, Molière began his studies at the Jesuit college in Clermont, which is currently the Lycée Louis-le-Grand. During his time there, he had the opportunity to associate with the French nobility subjugated by Cardinal Richelieu, a pet of Louis XIII, until 1639. Later, between 1640 and 1642, he studied law in Orleans and, after obtaining his license, briefly attended college for 6 months. During this time, he became involved in the libertine circle of the Epicurean philosopher Pierre Gassendi, along with personalities such as Claude-Emmanuel Lullier, known as Chapelle, Cyrano de Bergerac and Charles Coippeau d'Assoucy. In 1642, Molière replaced his father in the trade as upholsterer to King Louis XIII and established relations with the Bijard family of comedians. Despite his obligations as an upholsterer, Molière longed to dedicate himself completely to the world of the theater. Finally, on June 30, 1643, he signed an agreement with the Bijards to establish L'Illustre Theatre / the Illustrious Theatre. Madeleine Bijard, with whom Molière was in love, would be the director of the company. They began a long period of tours through different provinces, especially in the south of France, and even performed in Paris on January 1, 1644. Molière not only limited himself to acting, but also wrote farces for the company. Since 1644, he began to use the nickname of Molière. In addition, he assumed the role of director of the company, a task that he would perform again in 1650. This period marked the beginning of a successful theatrical career for Molière, where his talents as a playwright, actor and director flourished and would lead him to become one of the greatest writers of French and universal literature. Despite their efforts, theatrical success was slow in coming, and the company's collections reached only moderate figures. His repertoire included tragedies by authors such as Pierre Corneille, as well as farces and pantomimes in the style of the Commedia dell'arte, presented as intermissions in the tragedies, with the aim of attracting diverse audiences. Discover history in an entertaining and fascinating way. Subscribe to our channel Canis Lupus Culturalit. Join us on an exciting journey through time and space as we explore the secrets and mysteries of the past. Don't miss any of our updates and share it with your friends so they can join in on the fun too. Unfortunately, a series of failures led the company to run up considerable debt, reaching the point where Molière himself was imprisoned for several days in 1645 due to his financial difficulties. Upon his release, the company merged with that of Charles Dufresne, who enjoyed the patronage of the Duke of Epernon. Together, they toured cities such as Nantes, Toulouse, Albi, Poitiers, Narbonne, Agen and Pézenas, in search of new audiences and a renewal in their theatrical career. During the period between 1645 and 1658, Molière perfected himself as an actor and playwright, writing sketches for farces, and his first two comedies, The Fool or the Mishaps, L'Etourdi ou les Contretemps, premiered in Lyon in 1655, and Love's Spite, Le Dépit Amoureux, in which he introduces the character of Cras Carils, performed for the first time at Béziers in 1656. Most notable, however, was his association with the powerful Prince de Conti beginning in 1653. Conti, who held an influential position at the Palace of Versailles and was appointed governor of Guyenne and Languedoc, began to protect Molière's company and awarded him a pension of 6,000 livres in 1655. However, this protection was short-lived. Unexpectedly, the Prince de Conti converted to an intransigent Catholic religiosity and on December 20, 1656 withdrew the financial allowance and became an enemy of all forms of show business and theatrical spectacle for moral reasons. Consequently, Molière's company was forced to rely on the governor of Normandy. During his stay in Rouen, Molière met Pierre Corneille, another prominent playwright of the day. On his return to Paris in October 1658, protected by Philippe I, Duke of Orleans, the king's brother, Molière performed before Louis XIV in a Corneille tragedy, Nicomedes, which bored the king, and in a farce written and staged by himself, The Doctor in Love, which amused the public, although it has not survived. Molière displayed exceptional comedic talent, and his voice and mime caused laughter. The company soon gained an unrivaled reputation in comedy with Love Disappointment and, above all, with Molière's first great work, The Ridiculous Precious Ones, Less Precious as Ridicules, 1659, which was a great success and won favor with the young King Louis XIV. The king even provided them with a permanent theater at the Petit Bourbon, where they alternated performances with the Italian company Scaramouche, named after the famous black-robed comic character. In 1659, Molière's company underwent a major restructuring. Charles Dufresne retired, Duparc and Marquise joined the company of the Théâtre du Marais, and new talents such as Lagrange, the future publisher of Molière's works, the renowned farce actor Julien Bedeau, nicknamed Jodelet based on a character in Scarrat, his brother Lesby, Du Croy and his wife joined the company. Sganarelle ou le cocu imaginaire, Sganarelle or the Imaginary Cuckold, 1660, confirmed Molière's comic prowess. It became his most performed work during his lifetime. In this work, Molière introduced the famous character of Sganarelle, whom he would portray in many other works. However, the Petit Bourbon was demolished in 1660 to make way for the Louvre Colonnade, and after a difficult winter without construction, during which rival companies from the Hôtel de Bourgogne and the Marais tried to poach Molière's actors, all remained loyal and united around the playwright. In 1661, the king transferred them to the Palais Royal, where on November 4 they premiered Les Facheux, The Inopportune, with music by Lully and enjoyed overwhelming success with 39 consecutive performances. Although Molière tried his hand at tragedy, his swan song in the genre was Don Garcia de Navarra, a failure that he made up for with the triumph of the comedy The School for Husbands, released in June of that year in the luxurious palace of Superintendent Fouquet, who would soon fall out of favor and be replaced by Colbert. After the death of Cardinal Mazarin, the king's power was further strengthened. On February 20, 1662, Molière married Armande Bijart, daughter of Madeleine and 20 years his junior. In the same year, he tackled a topic that was rare in his time, the condition of women, and his work, The School for Women, L'École des Femmes, was a great success. However, the devout party and its secret society, the Company of the Holy Sacrament, protected by Queen Mother Anne of Austria, considered Molière a libertine and feared his influence on the king. These groups questioned the morality of his work, The School for Women, declaring it obscene and irreligious. In addition, the royal protection that Molière received created jealousy in other theatre companies, and malicious rumors spread, including speculation that his wife Armande was actually the daughter he had with Madeleine Bijart. Despite the criticism and gossip, Molière continued his successful theatrical career, performing his works at Versailles and in different theatres to great acclaim. Edmé Boursault, a friend of the Corneilles, caused a controversy by having a play entitled The Portrait of the Painter, or the counter-criticism of The School for Women, performed at the Hôtel de Bourgogne, followed by an offensive song directed against Madeleine Bijart and Molière. In response, Molière counterattacked by satirizing his adversaries in his works The Critique of the School of Women and The Impromptu of Versailles. The dispute between Molière and the devout detractors had begun, although the king had not yet taken sides. In 1664, Molière was made responsible for court amusements, and his influence grew with the support of King Louis and Henriette of England. That same year, he presented La Princesse d'Adelaide, a work that combined text, music and dance with sophisticated scenic machinery. Also in 1664, Molière completed his famous work Tartuffe, which denounced religious hypocrisy. The character of Tartuffe, disguised as a devotee, caused a great scandal among the devotees, leading to the banning of the work for 5 years by the king. Despite this, Molière gave private performances and rewrote the work to avoid censorship, adding a deep subtext to the piece. On February 15, 1665, Molière premiered his work Don Juan, which criticizes the figure of the libertine in society. Through the character of Sganarelle, Molière denounces the hypocrisy that prevails in those times, where falsehood and prudishness are considered an accepted fashion. Hypocrisy becomes a privileged vice, which enjoys impunity and avoids any censorship, allowing those who profess it to hide their evil deeds behind a facade of virtue. Molière exposes how the hypocrite can join closely with the devout, confusing even those who are sincere in their religiosity. Many take advantage of this ploy to hide their disorders and maintain a respected image, while continuing to be wicked in secret. With some attitudes of false humility and devotion, they achieve public forgiveness for their questionable actions, while becoming censorious of others and misjudging others to maintain a good opinion of themselves. To be continued. Thank you for your interest in culture and knowledge. I hope the information I provided you has been useful and interesting. If you want to continue learning and exploring, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel Wolf Culturalit for more educational and entertaining content. See you soon!